and mental health is rest, right? Slowing down. And that's something I have to work on a lot myself. So make sure you get enough deep sleep to release social programming. Deep sleep is also important in order to do healing work in the spiritual realms. And I receive a lot of messages from my dreams. That's my dream work, you know? So if you're not getting deep enough sleep, you may not be having dreams, or you may be so groggy in the morning that you don't remember your dreams. You know how like frustrating that feeling is when you have a dream and you're like, oh, that was a good one, and you try to hold on to it and it's gone. So get deep sleep. All right, number 12, release unwanted frequency alignment. So this one connects back with expectations I was talking about earlier. So the way to realign, or after you release, to help with this, is journaling and writing. So words are really powerful, and sometimes language forces us to put into words things that just knocking around in our heads, we haven't really gathered a full understanding of ourselves. And I know you know what I mean. Like, it's like if you write a letter to somebody or you have to explain something to somebody, not only did they gain a better understanding of what you're referencing, but also you gain a new level of understanding because you've had to describe it in terms that somebody else can understand. So journaling and writing is very powerful in doing that, because it forces you to think about it think about your desires through the filter of language and through the confines of language. And so the more specific you try to get, you have to be very intentional about your language. So journaling and writing, positive affirmations, detailed goals, and then sometimes just like free thought association writing or automatic writing is important to align your personal frequency with what you want to manifest. And I also feel like it's really important with connecting you to your spirits and guides too, especially the free thought association one. So journal work is really important. Number 13, release jealousy. So to unblock your heart, you may have a heart wall, or just like I explained earlier, like, you know, we go throughout life as we're born, and we figure out this experience, learning what types of bubbles and protections to put around us. And sometimes we unintentionally block off our heart or some of our other chakras so much that we're not receiving energy there. So, okay, so back to what I was talking about. Sorry, jealousy. So to unblock heart and live with more compassion is important to focus on intentional compassion. So what I'm calling intentional compassion is like, you know, it's easy to love all the people you already love, right? But what about the people that think differently than you, or that have hurt you, or, you know, are violent? You know, how do you kind of have intentional compassion for them? So this can be healed and worked on through your own process, through doing loving kindness meditation. So doing a loving kindness meditation, and you can look up different versions of this online. Look up Sharon Saltzman. She's like, you know, the godmother of loving compassion meditation. But doing a loving kindness meditation where you go through and you send yourself compassion first, and then you send it to somebody else that you love, and then you think about somebody that you have had tough experiences with, right? That your interactions, your relationship has been hard, and you send them loving kindness. Okay, so it's that intentional compassion, and this heals your heart chakra. It heals your love for yourself, right? To love somebody else's shadows, you go love somebody else. It's like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else, right? Okay, so jealousy. So another way besides loving kindness meditation to connect with this is by releasing jealousy, right? It's releasing jealousy. So celebrate the successes and the joys of others around you, and really others around you. So those people that you're jealous of, that have been successful in things that you have dreams of, it's easy for the ego to come in and be like, man, I wish I had that, you know? And the trick is that society and the social programming has taught us that there's a scarcity of resources, right? And that's just a lie. So you can be successful, and so can they. And by sending loving kindness, and intentional compassion to everyone and releasing that jealousy, you align yourself more with joy because you're sending that wavelength out, so it comes back to you more. You're healing your heart chakra. And yeah. And it goes back to what I was talking about, number 2, cords. So that helps heal those cords too. So then that cycle is released, and you no longer have to experience the pain and suffering of that cord that you haven't dealt with, that you're still feeling pain or jealousy or whatever for. And one of the things this makes me think of is Abraham Hicks was explaining joy one time, and she was saying, you know, you can't push up, you can't give resistance and allow at the same time, right? So you can't push up against and fight what you don't want and live in joy at the same time. So you have to pick one, okay? All right, so that was number 13, jealousy. I think it's kind of interesting that jealousy was 13. Okay, number 14, diet. So thinking about what you put in your body. Eating a clean and ethical diet. And the reason why I put that in my little quotations is that I personally believe that what a clean and ethical diet is looks different for everyone. I feel like it's an individual choice, and I think throughout my life sometimes it changes based on what I'm going through. So, what's it called? Like intuitive eating, you know, just connecting intuitively and pairing that intuitive feeling with some nutritional knowledge that you know, and trying to have balance in that. Is important, and this helps release your attachments to low vibe dimensions. So if you are, you know, wanting to elevate your consciousness, wanting to move from 3D to 5D, wanting to open the portals to higher realms and just a better experience, then think about how the material realm of things is tied to some of the things we put in our body. If it makes you feel weighted in the gravity of the, you know, material earth, then you're not being open. And it's kind of like that same thing that I was saying about traumas and things that can collect in your body and affect your physical experience. I think in the same way, some of the foods that you eat can, you know, mess with your tummy and your digestive system and make you feel like maybe it's not the best for you. And that goes back to anxiety, right? So your diet is connected. See, all a loop, right? Diet and anxiety definitely connected. I saw a thing the other day. It was like a meme on Facebook, and it was like, you know, when kids say my tummy hurts, it means, you know, I'm having anxiety, but they don't have the language of how to communicate that. And I totally resonate with that. Not just with kids, but as a human. Okay, so number 14 was diet. Number 15, release stubborn resistance. Allow more in your life to release unnecessary suffering. So allow and surrender more to release unnecessary suffering. So I talked about that earlier when I was talking about number 1, ego. So it goes together. Try to live with the least amount of resistance. So sometimes when you have a resistance to somebody, or something, whoops, that was like a Freudian slip or whatever, but sometimes you have a resistance to somebody or something, and you really think about it. Sometimes you may not have a resistance to what's being offered by the universe, by that person, by that opportunity, by that lack of opportunity. And your social programming and the anxiety or the routine makes you think that you don't want it when maybe it's just a stubborn resistance. So really just allowing, still having the boundaries we talked about, but allowing for a minute and really sitting with it before you decide. Don't let routine decide for you. Okay, let's see. Number 16, doubt. So to release doubt, To release old limiting patterns and connect more with your intuition and higher self, it is important to trust in both yourself and the goodness of others. So what's the opposite of doubt? Trust. So trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust, others too. Trust that the goodness in others, and they will present that to you more, because that is the frequency that you're putting out and the wavelength you're attracting back. So number 16, release doubt. Number 17, release your DNA and negative ancestral patterns. So to do this, I have a few ways that I've done it, but I feel like that this is just my personal experience, and I feel like part of the main reasons we come here in these bodies on this planet as a human, some of the main work we come here to do is to evolve, release the negative ancestral patterns, release the DNA, so that next time, and even if you don't have children, you connect to it through the collective experience, right? So to release old limiting patterns and connect with your intuition and higher self, it is important that you trust in both yourself and the goodness of others. I just read doubt again. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Okay, sorry, we were talking about DNA. Okay, so again, I'm about to tell you ways that I've experienced releasing, my ancestral patterns and leveling up my DNA. But I feel like there are a lot more out there that you should personally look up and curate your own path individually. So, you can do DNA healing meditations. So I got a channeled message, one of my first channeled messages, like a year and a half ago, that was all about building this copper pyramid and meditating under it. And I did it. And one of the first things that I got that was another channeled message was the name of a woman. I'm trying to think of her name right now. Was it Rosalind Franklin? Something like that. But when I looked her up, she was one of the scientists that was responsible for discovering the double helix pattern of DNA. And so I feel like that was my guides telling me, work on your DNA. And another way I've done it is just doing healing vibrational meditation and listening to those tones and envisioning, almost coming out of my crown chakra, a ladder of double helix where, just like I was describing before, trying to sit in and visualize it and see an area like your body scan where that is damaged and needs healing, and envision a red pure photonic light healing that space, and then afterwards saying that it changes either into an electric blue or a pure white or a braided blue and white light to show that it's healed. I've even envisioned like myself climbing the DNA after that, as if I'm, exploring further higher up realms. Certain music and musicians can offer DNA healing. It's really interesting. The day, and I forgot to mention, you can have a spiritual healer do a DNA activation for you, which I had done. And the day I had it done, I went to a concert that a friend had invited me to for a band that I'd never heard of. And she's a fellow Pisces, and it was a birthday gift to me. And it was so perfect because it was the day of my DNA activation that I won on a raffle. And I went, and the musicians were Nako and Medicine for the People. I feel like I got even more like DNA healing and ancestral healing through that experience. Had never heard of them, love them now. And then there was another guy there that was like kind of a very surreal moment, because my husband and I had watched this kid. He was like 13, and he was like a indigenous activist that was involved in like plans like the Green Deal and environmental activism. And I think I may mess up the pronunciation, but I think it's Shuteskat is how you pronounce it. I think it's like his like Aztec or Mayan name. I can't remember which one. But anyway, he's a young rapper whose music is just about beautiful human experiences. I feel like I got DNA healing from him too. So that was really interesting. All right. right, let me see. I have on the next page the rest of the information about DNA, so let me make sure I said everything. Yeah, I explained the pure photonic light, the ladder. Okay, so number 18, releasing stories. To heal the collective cords of humanity is important for us to both tell our personal stories of both failures and triumphs, failures, fruitful, as well as listen openly to the stories of others. So connecting with others is very important. So I feel like, you know, to release stories and limiting belief systems, we have to sometimes hear them validated through other stories and recognizing others' stories. And that balance of that throat chakra and, you know, listening and speaking. Yeah, and that one connects with throat chakra too. Okay, number 19, release dehydration. She'll take a sip of my liquid as I say that. All right, drink more water. We are made of majority water, right? So this can help cleanse and repair your auric layers and your chakras. And any kind of water works. So I use water when I'm in the shower. I use my detachable shower head and I go through all of my chakras and I say to myself positive affirmations, just like I mentioned in the journaling, positive affirmations that connect with each of the chakras, and I envision healing. So drinking water and then like drinking spiritual water too through your spiritual water work, if that makes sense. Spending time in water. So don't be spiritually dehydrated, don't be physically dehydrated, don't be mentally dehydrated. And so making sure you stay hydrated helps cleanse and repair your auric layers and your chakras. Number 20, release adulthood. So that's part of why I brought my little crystal troll out here, because he reminds me to activate and connect with my inner child. Okay, so if you have abundance blocks, you probably have too much adulthood in your life. So you need to activate that inner child. And that can be anything that makes you feel childlike, right? And again, that's individual and personal. It's funny, like right as I said that, my neighbor's kids came outside to play. Okay, number 21, release reasoning and pragmatic thinking. So I mentioned social programming earlier. Social programming and what the world values as a whole is realism, pragmatic thinking, reasoning, right? And I don't want to devalue reasoning because it's all about the balance, right? But some people, and at some times, you can use so much of that pragmatic reasoning, pragmatic thinking, the ego and that brain energy to kind of explain. It's like, I call it explain tactics, where you're dismissing your intuitive thoughts or personal beliefs. And the channeled message that I got about that is I saw like an envelope that said return to sender. And it's like when you only make decisions and only align with pragmatic thinking, and you don't also, it's like head and heart, right? Through my BQH that I do, part of the process that we do with BQH is we do a heart and mind coherence, where you bring your heart and your mind into coherence. So again, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't, make decisions of your life. Like if you get sick and, you get danger vibes, go to the doctor. I'm not trying to say reasoning is bad, but having that balance where your head and your heart are together in your decision making. So the return to sender thing I was talking about, it's like if you have miracles and gifts that are supposed to be coming to you and you explain things away, it's like you're stamping return to sender and not even opening the envelopes of abundance and of, miracles. Okay, that was number 21. Number 22, we have a few more. 22, release apologetic tendencies. So, stop saying sorry. So, and again, there's a time for an apology, but so much of social programming and what we're trained as children that becomes pattern in adulthood is to make decisions based on guilt or shame. and say sorry for things that you have no role in. And then that sends that apologetic kind of sad energy out. And again, that's what you're attracting back. So stop saying sorry when not necessary. This keeps you reliving the past and repeating past traumas and suffering instead of staying connected to the present. All right, and I'm almost done. I tell you what, I'm going to pause and I'm going to go inside and finish it up. See you in a minute.